This is Ron Kelleher with the Inspired Leadership Podcast, episode number 597. Today's episode is entitled From Ruth to the Boardroom: 6 Leadership Insights for Today's Leaders.
Hello, and welcome to Inspired Leadership, the podcast for Christian leaders in the marketplace who want to be the best leaders they can be. And now your host, Ron Kelleher.
Imagine stepping into a boardroom where the future of an entire company hinges on your integrity and decisions. In today's marketplace, Christian leaders face challenges that test their integrity, responsibility, and commitment to others. By examining the narrative in the book of Ruth, we can draw valuable lessons from the positive and negative traits displayed by the characters, particularly Boaz and the unnamed kinsman redeemer. These traits offer timeless principles for effective and ethical leadership. The story of Ruth begins with tragedy and loss as Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth return to Bethlehem as widows. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi leads her to glean in the fields of Boaz, a relative of Naomi's deceased husband. Boaz, impressed by Ruth's dedication, ensures her protection and provision. When Naomi advises Ruth to seek marriage with Boaz as a kinsman redeemer, Boaz agrees but points out a closer relative who has the first right of redemption. In Ruth chapter 4, Boaz approaches this closer relative before the elders at the city gate, presenting the opportunity to redeem Naomi's land and marry Ruth. The unnamed kinsman redeemer initially agrees to redeem the land, but withdraws upon realizing the full extent of his obligations, fearing it might jeopardize his inheritance. Boaz, demonstrating integrity and generosity, steps in to fulfill the role, thereby securing Ruth and Naomi's future. This encounter, rich with cultural and legal significance, offers profound insights into leadership traits that are just as relevant today. In a world where ethical leadership is often tested, Boaz's story shines as a beacon of integrity, responsibility, generosity, and a respect for tradition. His actions secured a future for Ruth and Naomi and set a standard for leadership that transcends time. As Christian leaders in the marketplace, we can draw valuable lessons from Boaz's example and apply these principles to our own leadership journeys. First, there's integrity and honor. Boaz exemplifies integrity and honor by adhering to the legal and cultural processes for redeeming Naomi's land and marrying Ruth. For Christian leaders, this underscores the importance of transparency and ethical conduct. Integrity builds trust, fosters a positive work environment, and enhances the leader's reputation. Second, there's responsibility. Boaz takes his role as kinsman redeemer seriously, fulfilling his obligations without hesitation. Leaders in the marketplace should embrace their responsibilities, whether to their employees, customers, or community, and act decisively when required. Number 3, generosity. Boaz's willingness to assume financial and social responsibilities demonstrates his generosity. Christian leaders should emulate this trait by being generous with their time, resources, and support, creating a culture of care and compassion within their organizations. And number 4, respect for tradition. Boaz respects and adheres to cultural and legal traditions, ensuring a structured and just process. Leaders should respect their organizations and industry's foundational principles and values while being open to innovation and change. Now, conversely, the narrative also presents a cautionary tale through the actions of the unnamed kinsman redeemer. His reluctance to embrace his responsibility and his self-interested decision-making serve as a warning for leaders today. By examining these negative traits, we can better understand the pitfalls to avoid and the importance of putting others before personal gain in our leadership practices. First, there is self-interest. The unnamed kinsman redeemer prioritizes his interests over his familial duties. Leaders must be wary of self-centered decision-making that neglects the well-being of others. True leadership involves putting the needs of others before personal gain. Second, there's a lack of responsibility. The kinsman redeemer's reluctance to fulfill his obligations highlights a lack of responsibility. Leaders must embrace their roles fully, understanding that shirking responsibilities can lead to a loss of trust and respect. In conclusion, the story of Boaz and the kinsman redeemer in the book of Ruth offers profound insights for Christian leaders in the marketplace. Leaders can create ethical, compassionate, and effective organizations by embracing traits such as integrity, responsibility, generosity, and respect for tradition. Conversely, avoiding self-interest and a lack of responsibility ensures that leadership remains aligned with Christian values, fostering trust and respect among all stakeholders. As leaders, let us strive to embody these positive traits, guiding our actions and decisions in a way that honors God and serves others. Well, that's it for this week, and as always, questions and comments are welcome. Which of the positive traits of leadership displayed by Boaz do you think are most important for leaders today? I'd love it if you'd come over to the website at ronkelleher.com/episode number 597 and leave me a question or a comment. And as always, before we go, I'd like to ask you to do me a quick favor, and that is to hop on over to whatever podcast service you're listening to this on. Leave a ranking for the show and a comment if you wish. It really does help us get the show into the hands of more and more people. So I thank you in advance for that and pray that God would help us all to be the powerful and the inspired leaders He intends us to be. That's it for this episode of Inspired Leadership. You'll find a complete transcript of this episode on my website at www.ronkelleher.com. My prayer now is that you'll go out and be the powerful, inspired leader that God intends us to be.
Thanks for listening to the Inspired Leadership Podcast at www.ronkelleher.com.